Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to Podcast Demastered. I'm Wade, and I'm here with Chelsea as always. And today we are doing an episode we have been waiting to do for a while since the start of this show has aired, which wasn't that long ago. It was like a month ago, I think. But Agatha All Along has finally finished, and I don't think it's left anybody hurting. Wanting more, I think, if anything. I don't think I've ever left a show so much, besides maybe WandaVision, just wanting more. Wanting so much more. WandaVision was a little different, because when that finished, we had a movie.
Yes,
we were like true. That. We had a end credit scene that led straight into the movie that it was connected to, but Agatha All Along is fairly open-ended at the moment. We know a few things, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, it's also one of the shows, too, where it doesn't have a post-credit scene.
It doesn't, which was crazy. Like, I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. I was like, is this real? Am I sure I'm actually at the end of the episode? I'm like, nope, there is not one.
Yeah, had to get on the old Google, find out.
Yes, exactly. But yes, listeners, obviously this is our warning. We are going to be going into spoiler territory, so just be warned.
Oh yeah, full spoiler territory. I don't think you can talk about the show properly and not talk about the spoilers.
Totally fair.
Because you're leaving out the genius of what this show ended up being. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can kind of start with the beginning. So because we've already mentioned WandaVision stuff, is that the creator of this show, Agatha All Along, Jack Schaefer, also created WandaVision. And so it's really cool to have this showrunner working on this other show. But I also believe that this show, I don't know the specifics with this, had like a smaller budget than WandaVision did. But we can just talk about
by
everything
a lot.
They put into the show. This was also a show that I think it just was all over social media for me. I saw so many interviews with the cast, the creator, and everything, but there was so much love and positivity, and like everybody just put their love and care into the show.
They really did, and that shone through in so many things. Like, you have the casting, first off.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about that, yes.
You have the casting, you have the writing, you have the costuming, you have the sets. Like, everything was handled so spectacularly that I'm just gonna have to go and rewatch it a whole lot more times, I think. I'm not ready to, like, leave it yet.
No, and I don't think we should. And I think it's also a show where you watch it once and you get to the end and you're like, oh, well, now I want to watch it again to pick up on certain things I might have missed the first time.
There's a lot to pick up on in later watches, like, which is kind of the point of the show also.
Yes.
It leads back into itself time and time and time again. You have references to earlier episodes. You have references to later episodes within the earlier episodes. Like, it's absolutely crazy, but we can talk a little bit more on that, like, as we start to, like, get into the actual story.
Yes, but we should probably just talk about our amazing cast that was in this show.
Oh, yes, please.
First off, we have Kathryn Hahn returning as Agatha.
Holy cow.
She's
taken this character and just, like, she's owned it. She has absolutely, like, become something different. And, like, when WandaVision started, you meet Agnes, the nosy neighbor, and people who are aware of, like, Wanda lore, there were lots of guesses, like, who is she supposed to be? Well, they made a guess that it was Agatha Harkness, and they were right. You don't find that out till, like, the second to last episode, or something like that in WandaVision, but it was one of those things that kind of, the show led you there, and then you meet Agatha in all of her, like, terrible glory at the end, but then she's put back in a box, to be kept for a later time, and here she is, being broken out of that box, so to speak, and kind of released into the world as she is, preparing for vengeance and getting her power back, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, she's so absolutely over the top dramatic, but it just works so well with her character. It's just like, you're laughing at her, also, like, you're with her, but at the same time, you're like, oh gosh, she is truly a villain, and just
like, well, you want to root for her so much. You love her, but, like, you have to pull back, because, like,
she's terrible.
She's got agendas inside of agendas inside of agendas. You cannot trust her, even in the moments that you can't, because she's not here to make friends. She's not here to
Nope.
She's not here to do anything that does not benefit herself. So
exactly.
Oh, yes.
So we obviously have Agatha. We also are introduced to a new character who becomes a super big deal, but who was initially introduced as Teen.
Teen!
Yes. Played by Joe Locke, which was such a joy to get basically two Joe Locke shows like back to back.
Oh my gosh,
because
it was.
If people are familiar, he is in Heartstopper, which is a lovely show on Netflix, and they are on their third season of that show. And it was also one of the shows where I was like, how is he going to act in this show? Are we going to see a little bit of a character? Like, we all know who we think he's playing, but is he just going to... No, but I would say his character is quite different in this show than in Heartstopper. And so we got to see
good lord, yes.
Yes.
But also, like, you get to see his American accent.
Yes.
Which, it didn't take long to, like, get used to it necessarily, but the whole time I'm just thinking, like, but that's Joe Locke.
Yeah. Exactly.
I can't separate... It was really difficult to, like, separate Teen from Joe Locke. Because it was just Joe Locke, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't until later in the series that I was like, no, this is Teen. This is, you know...
It's different, yeah.
It's different. But it was funny. I was laughing at myself the whole time. Like, that's not his fault that my brain was doing that to me. But I enjoyed it all the same.
Yeah. Let's see. We have another wonderful addition to this cast. We have Aubrey Plaza.
Oh my gosh. Aubrey
Yes.
Plaza, yeah. So she plays Agatha's very old, vindictive ex-girlfriend.
Yes, Rio.
Who is just on a blood path to see Agatha torn into as many pieces as she can.
Yes, which, as we've
I mean,
seen with Agatha's character, makes...
Aubrey Plaza, you know? It's just Aubrey Plaza doing what Aubrey Plaza does.
Exactly.
Just being crazy and dark and just hilarious all the time. Unhinged.
Yes, I was going to say unhinged, the perfect word for that.
But more on that. More on Rio later.
Yes.
I think. So then, outside of these main three characters, we have Agatha's new coven that she puts together to kind of reach their goals. And in the coven, we have 3 new people. 3 new players on the board. 4 new, I suppose, kind of.
Yeah. Who?
But,
no. What's her name?
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, starting a returning character, I suppose, from WandaVision. You have Sharon Davis, who is like, she's in like the first episode of WandaVision. You know, she's the mom from that 70s show. She plays Kitty. But she is there. She's a neighbor of Agatha, and she gets pulled into this mess of witches and stuff like that, and she has no idea what's going on, but she's just there for it, you know. She's just, she thinks it's a party. She thinks she's being invited to a party. This poor lady.
I know.
But she's not a witch. She's just, she gets dragged along. And then we have Jennifer Kale, who is, she's a witch who has lost her powers. They've been like bound, magically bound, so she can't use them. And she's a potions expert. That's her thing. But in the world, she's also like a very famous, like, I don't know, like social media,
health and wellness vibe.
There you
type,
go.
Like, you know,
yeah, health and wellness
and whatnot.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how she, that's how she makes her business. But she is actually a witch. She just can't use her powers because they've been bound. Like in her past, they were bound by like a doctor. And we'll cover that later too. All right, you want to grab one of these last 2 ladies? Okay.
We also have Alice. Now, she's one that she does technically have her powers, but she's
an interesting one.
Yes. And who's basically been kind of like living just like place to place, job to job type situation. But you find out that she had a very famous mother who was also a witch, who is known for her major, not really quite one-hit wonder, but basically it's a song, The Ballad of the Witch's Road, that she has a version of this song that she played all the time, went on tour and stuff, but that Alice's mom died under terrible circumstances. Basically, Alice wants to find out what truly happened to her mom and move on, and that there's a supposed curse in the family to deal with as well.
And she's a protection witch.
Yes.
That's her thing. Just using her powers is always like an issue for her because of the curse that she has. She doesn't like to use the powers because things kind of get twisted because of this curse, right? Like that's kind of like where they were going with that. So our last member, I suppose, of our coven, which like this casting is crazy at the start, and it's still crazy to me now. But we have Patti LuPone. If you don't know who Patti LuPone is, grab yourself some culture. She's been a Broadway goddess for decades and decades. But she plays Lilia Calderou, who is she's a divination expert, reading the future, divination, tarot cards, things like that. But she kind of lives on the outside of witchdom. Like she doesn't vibe with the culture so much because she is just kind of seen as a scam artist, I suppose. She's essentially living paycheck to paycheck. Like she's just trying to scrape by, but she's not really taken serious enough in the witch community to do anything good, I suppose.
Yeah. But so we have this very unique group, our ragtag coven, coming together, all because of Agatha and whatever plan she has to unleash. And Agatha has sold them all on the Witch's Road. I need to get to the Witch's Road. We need to do this together. I want my powers back. I need your guys' help to do this. And hey, I guess you guys can get something out of it too, but it doesn't really matter about you guys, but just, I need you. So then we start off because of Agatha claims about how to access the Witch's Road, and we get it through song. We have to talk about this song.
We have to talk about this song. Oh my gosh. So you get this wonderful, at the end of the second episode, when the coven has been brought together in the basement of Agatha's house. And we're gonna go on the Witch's Road. We're gonna summon it by doing this song, this chant, which every witch knows, Every witch knows this song. And with your Coven 5, you get together, you go on the Witch's Road, which is just a collection of trials, basically, to test your proficiency in the art of witchcraft. And your prize is the thing that you want most. And it's, in the lore, the Witch's Road is something that is dark and sinister, and people don't really survive it. There's not a lot of legends of people finishing this road, but the coven knows that Agatha has cleared it before.
Yes.
Agatha's been around a long time, and it's folklore that Agatha Harkness has completed the Witch's Road, which, how interesting,
how
to us.
Yes.
But Joe Locke's character, Teen, he's the one who went to find Agatha to pull her out of her, false reality that Wanda placed her in, so that she could take him on the road too, because he needs answers to some questions. He needs to find some stuff out. Agatha wants her powers back. Jen wants to be unbound. Everybody wants something. So Teen helps Agatha get the girls together. They get together in this basement, and it's time to sing the song.
Yes.
Which I don't think it has.
It's a catchy song. No,
oh my gosh,
amazing.
It hasn't been stuck in my head since the start.
Exactly.
Of the show.
I woke up this morning and it was in my head. It's just
down the road. It is constant.
Oh my gosh.
It is absolutely constant.
And for having a song like this that is stuck in your head, well, obviously it was written by the Lopezes, as in Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who also wrote the theme for WandaVision, as in the Agatha All Along song. That was also quite catchy.
Everything. Oh, yeah.
As well as, obviously, Frozen 1 and 2. Also, Remember Me from Coco. And see, that's just, that's already a lot.
Disney portfolio is just, through the roof. It just keeps getting better for them, and I'm happy that they get those opportunities. That's crazy.
Yes. And then specifically with this song, The Ballad of the Witch's Road, it's not just one version of this. This becomes a reoccurring theme throughout.
You get 5 versions of this song, but it's not even the song changes every time. The lyrics change, everything changes outside of those musical motifs that makes this song the song. So, because in the Marvel world, most people know the song because Alice's mom wrote this big rock and roll ballad like back when in her days. And that is the most popular version of the song that like every single person, at least in the country, knows. Like, it's one of those like big rock hits that have been around for forever. But you get this chanted version at the beginning to kind of introduce it to you. You get more versions as the series progresses because the song keeps coming up, funnily enough. But we can't spoil all of it quite yet. We'll get there, though.
Yes.
But, I mean, the fans of the show have also gone and made new versions of the song that have tied together with this and that and mashups. And it's just another phenomenon, No big deal.
Yeah, exactly. No big deal.
No
just,
big deal.
Another great song. Exactly. But it's so cool because it is a song where it sounds great in all these different versions and it works so well during these different parts of the show too. And it's just really cool to see that. But yes, having the chanting at the end of that second episode and everything, bringing this
getting to hear like Patti LuPone just like belt that stuff out in the background, like, oh my gosh, love it.
Yeah, it was really cool to see.
But to get back into the story, I suppose, we get this lovely scene with them all holding hands, singing, belting out this beautiful song. And then Joe Locke's character, Teen, he's just upstairs in the house because he's been forbidden to watch. Yeah. He's not a witch. He's just a obsessed child with witchy stuff. So he's up in the house and we get kind of introduced to the show's villains, to say. Yeah. Like, they're called the Salem 7. And essentially, they're just the children of, like, the original Salem Coven that, of course, Agatha killed.
Yep, of course.
So somebody died, Agatha probably killed them, so it's fine.
Yep. Agatha all
along. They show up. Yeah, it's been Agatha all along.
Yep.
They show up, and they're trying to, like, break into the house while the song is being chanted. They're trying to stop, the Witch's Road from appearing. And Teen is frantically trying to stop them.
Very poorly.
Poor boy. Very poorly. I mean, he's like 16. Like, what on earth is he supposed to do? Lock the door, shut the blinds. I mean.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help when the door was completely blown off its hinges anyway. So what do? Put a couch in front of it and hope they don't come through?
Dang it, Audrey Plaza.
Yeah.
So, he comes running down the stairs as they finish, and, like, nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. The door to the Witch's Road hasn't appeared, and the ladies start fighting, because Agatha's like, you all must not be real witches, because there ain't no road here.
That suck, it's not me.
So they're all, she's antagonizing, and they're screaming at her and everything, but then, lo and behold, a door appears.
Yep.
And here comes a shrieking teen down the basement stairs, flinging the doors open and thrusting himself down into the depths of the road. Yeah,
he's like, perfect, the Witch's Road's here, bye everybody, let's go.
Like I ain't getting murdered today, so...
No. Yeah.
So they all go down after him, and thus starts the show proper.
Yes. And yeah, it's what a way to start that show. And essentially, as we can progress through these episodes, it becomes following this Witch's Road that they go on together, and they come across different trials, which is set up almost for each witch specifically to complete.
And also based on WandaVision was based on decades through TV. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the road has like such a specific theme in mind, but each trial like also takes place in like a different era.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the first theme is like very modern, very upper class. It's Jin's trial. It's the potions trial where they get poisoned by wine, and she has to create an antidote from scratch without magic,
which is random household things. Yeah.
With random household things, testing her knowledge of potions and ingredients. And just getting to watch all of these trials, and everybody, of course, is in new outfits and new hairstyles and new just everything that fits. It's fun and it's silly, but you have like the serious undertone the whole time of like, if we don't pass the trial within the time limit, we die.
Yes.
And the show reminds you of that a lot.
Because we do get casualties in this show as well, even in that first trial.
The first trial, we lose poor Sharon Davis.
Yep.
Poor, not even a witch, and she was just dragged along. But with the passing of Sharon, though, they need a new green witch. They have to have a coven of 5.
Yes.
So they make a spell to summon a new witch straight to the road. And they get the quote-unquote original Green Witch herself, Rio.
Yes.
Who pulls herself out of Sharon's grave. Love
in
that.
Dramatic fashion.
In dramatic fashion. So then you get the rest of the cast, they get to be introduced to Rio and her vendetta against Agatha. And, you know, like, none of these people trust Agatha anyway. Like, they've all heard the stories. Yeah. But they want their reward from the road. So they're willing to put up with Agatha. But then here comes Rio, whose sole purpose is to turn them all against Agatha. Shocker. But, you know, they move on to new trials to get things done. And things just kind of go.
Yeah. Well, and it's so great because, like, yeah, like we said, like, so there's, like, some silliness with this show, with just, like, Agatha being so dramatic over the top to just, like, little comedic moments, but also these darker undertones, as well as we get a really nice wealth of character development for all these witches, you know, because it's like, okay, well, I don't know what we're expecting from the show if it's just, you know, focusing on Agatha, but no, we get introduced to more of these backstories, especially with these trials. We get to learn more about these witches and facing their past, essentially. Oh, yeah. And we get some
for
really
such a short show,
moments.
you get so much, like, out of all of these characters.
Yeah.
Backstory and, like, why they're there, what they're doing now, like, what they want. There's so much that is pushed into these shows. It's crazy. But then, like, how they're all tied together also.
Yes.
The writing is just so good.
It is. And it's, yeah, that's especially what you mentioned before about, like, going back and rewatching it, because there are just certain things that are said and just, like, the conversations with each other just alluding to things that just all the pieces fit together. But, of course, since we're getting everybody's backstory, we get Teen's backstory, which this is a character who many people, before the show even began, everybody was hoping that we were going to see this character. And
it was like 99% sure of who he was going to be, and they're being so cute and just calling him Teen.
Yes.
And then even more so, like, why are they calling him Teen? Are they just being jerks? Well, not just that. He goes to introduce himself to Agatha in the first episode, and he can say his name, but, like, other people can't hear him. It gets, like, they can't read his lips, they can't, like, his person is completely shrouded. He's being protected by a spell, essentially. Like, a sigil is protecting him so that people can't know who he is.
Yes.
So they just call him Teen.
Or Teenager.
Or Teenager.
His full name.
Oh, not the full government name.
Yeah.
We are not cool, Teenager.
Oh my gosh, yes. So many silly things like that. But yes, we do get just about halfway through the series of these episodes, which, by the way, we didn't mention, like, it is a short, like, season or series, however we refer it as. It's only 9 episodes. So it's not even, like, quite that 10. So it's also weird. It's like, it's not 8. It's not 10. Nope, it's 9. But we do get revealed about Teen. And now, honestly, I was with everybody being like, obviously, this is what character we're going to see. But I was a little afraid they were going to pull another one on us like they did with WandaVision. Yeah, just like another Quicksilver moment. And I was like, I could see it both ways. Like, surely they're going to say who Teen is, but I'm like, no, it's going to be, which, well, like, by the way, Quicksilver thing.
Well, yeah, also, yeah, we'll get to that. But, like, how they introduced Teen's, like, full proper character, though, like, left, like, at the end of that episode, I think it left zero, like, room to think that it could be something else other than who it was. Yes. Which, like, let's talk about that ending really fast. Okay. Ending, I think it was episode 4, I think. They come out of Agatha's trial, where basically, like, her whole monstrous self was kind of put in the front of it. It was Agatha's trial, but it was, man.
Well, the 6th episode is when we find out who Teen is.
Well, that you get his whole background.
Yeah, but before that, yes, we do.
Oh no, yeah. So it was episode 5, I suppose. But, like, so we have our second trial where Alice is kind of like, they pass the trial and Alice's, like, generational curse is erased, like, it's gone. So she's a proper witch now. And in the next episode, you get Agatha's, where she, like, becomes a full demon almost to show off her, like, her ugly nature and how evil she truly is. And at the end of the episode, or at the end of the trial, Alice uses her powers to protect Teen. But Agatha's powers, which we haven't really talked a lot about, like the thing that she's missing, that she's trying to get back, is that when magic is used directly against her, she absorbs it. Like, completely. Wholly and completely. She absorbs it, and it becomes hers. And Alice uses her powers to stop Agatha from hurting anybody else. But it turns into a thing where Agatha absorbs so much of Alice's power that she dies. Alice dies as a result. And this upsets Teen to no end. Because, you know, like, she didn't have to... Like, okay, she can't control the power, but... According to Agatha, she can't control it.
Being possessed and also dealing with, like, the ghost of her mother.
And she was very shaken up, too, you know? She was not in a great place, too. But Teen comes for her. He's mad as hell that that she would just let Alice die like that. Like, she would take that much of her power to leave her with nothing left. And Agatha's like, well, I can't turn it off. I can't control it. Like, once it starts to happen, like, that's kind of how it is. And Teen's just like, you're a liar. I don't believe you. How could I have trusted you this whole time? And in Agatha, she's been slowly putting things together about Teen this whole time. And she goes up to him, and he's like, I would never let somebody die for the sake of my own goal. And she's just like, I don't know, would you though? And she's like, you're so like your mother. And he, like, flips.
Damn. Yeah.
His hands come up, and basically takes, with magic, and he takes control of Jen and Lilia, our last two remaining people. Because, like, Rio is just kind of, like, all over the place. She's there or she's not.
Comes and goes, yeah.
And using those two, he has them chuck Agatha into, like, the witches, like, off the road of the witch's road, like, into this mud, and she gets, like, engulfed by it. But then he throws the other two in as well. He tries to murder all three of them. And at the end, you get, like, Teen's hands glowing blue.
Yes.
And then you see he has a blue crown, just very like Wanda does.
Yes.
Which is like, and then it's like, credits.
Yep.
And it's like screaming, you're just like, you're dead. Like, you know who he is. Like, they've given it away. But the next episode, you get his backstory, which I love how they did it. Like, they changed stuff because, you know, you got to.
Yeah.
Which, it's fine. If you don't know who he is yet, folks, Teen is Billy Maximoff. So if you've seen WandaVision, he is the little boy with psychic powers, you know, like with magic like Wanda does. There's Billy and Tommy. Tommy gets speed powers like his uncle Quicksilver, and then Billy gets the chaos magic like Wanda does. It works a little differently, but I don't think that's relevant to, like, the show, really. So they're probably not even going to go into that. But, you know, at the end of the series, when Wanda canceled her hex, her control over reality within the town, the two boys disappeared. She essentially killed them because she turned off their existence.
Yeah.
You know? And so here's Agatha All Along to explain what happens to the boys, which things that they kept the same from the comic was that there is a boy who already exists named William Kaplan. You know, little Jewish teenager from a well-off home, getting ready to have his parents with loving parents, loving parents, having his bar mitzvah. But he has his bar mitzvah and life is good. Well, at his bar mitzvah, he meets Lilia's character, you know, a palm reader. And she offers to tell his future, but she sees like the splitting like of his future, and she's like, this isn't right. And
this
he's
is
like,
really weird.
Yeah. And he's like, okay. Cause you know, he doesn't understand, but she, at that
doesn't
moment, quite
believe, you know, just went to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's just like, yeah, let's do this fun thing.
Yeah.
And no,
surprise.
Well, she ends up putting the sigil on him to protect him from what was coming, what was about to happen to him. Not that he knew that happened by any means.
No.
But when a witch puts a sigil on somebody, like, that witch forgets about it as well, as another manner of protection for the whole sigil that was placed. So that's why Lilia hasn't been able to recognize him this whole time, because the sigil is still activated. Well, at the end of his bar mitzvah, they get their report that, like, something is happening in Westview, and the hex, you know, Wanda's hex that she created, is crashing in on itself.
Yes.
And, you know, people are terrified, and they're running, and they're going home, and they're leaving the party. And on the way home, there's a car accident, and William Kaplan dies. And at that moment, of his death, that's when the hex fully completed and Billy Maximoff, his soul, entered William Kaplan's body, waking up. And it's really, I don't fully understand how, like, where they're going with this. Like, and they kind of play on this. Like, does Billy remember being William and also remember being Billy? Like, everything seems to be very confusing for him. And, like, all of these memories that he's fighting against. Because it's obvious he's still William Kaplan. But upon waking up, he was Billy Maximoff. Like, he didn't understand what was happening and struggled to remember, quote unquote, remember his life. But what he was remembering was William Kaplan. So I think it was all very complicated. Like, and I'm not sure what the point, like, where are they headed? What did they want us to know about that situation, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's also too much, like, how much was he also suppressing as well? Just not ignoring, just trying to live with how he was. But then we slowly see some more things about his character, and it kind of, this episode does also play up about, from his point of view, with Agatha at the very beginning of the show and seeing that conclusion. But yes, you're still definitely left with a little bit of that mystery about who he thinks he is.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's nice to still have a mystery to go off on after we find out that he's Billy Maximoff. But, you know, Agatha had figured it out.
Yes.
But he was angry and he tried to kill all three of them. Well, they all end up escaping the mud. But Billy is very much just like, I'm over you. I'm sick of it.
Like, I don't need you guys. Just, your lies are terrible. Just, I'm doing what I want to do.
Like, you're supposed to be witches. And they're like, well, you don't understand what it is to be a witch. Like, you know, covens don't exist very much for a reason. It's because we can't be trusted. Like, you know, it is what it is. And he's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. Like, no.
He wants,
you know, I refuse to believe that, yes.
As a witch, he wants being a witch to mean something else. And they're just like, well, get 300 years under your belt and then we'll have a talk about it. But, you know, and so Agatha's like, you're just like your mother in regards to, like, you want everything with no sacrifice. You don't want to hurt people to get what you want, but when you do, like, it's better. Like, it makes you better than everybody else. Whew, like, there were some conversations. But then, like, Billy also kind of gives away that, like, he can't control his powers very well.
Yes.
Like, he can't just call upon them when he wants to. So Agatha's like, well, like, I guess he'll just continue to be my little pet and we'll just move on, won't we?
Yeah.
Like, whoo, lordy.
Yes.
So we move on to the fourth trial, where they're kind of separated. You have Billy and Agatha, and then you have Jen and Lilia, who, like, they don't escape the mud, like, upwards.
Yes,
they go
they're, like,
through the bottom.
Underground, essentially. And you get this episode, which is, like, we've seen a lot of really powerful storytelling so far throughout the show. We've seen some really great, just in general, editing, just a lot of stuff involved in this. And then you get this episode about Lilia's character and how it's told, because we know that, you know, she's considered, like, the fortune teller. She can, like, see glimpses in the future, but you get more into her mind that she's seen all these different parts of her life at different points in time. And you have her just moving through time, not even at, like, in one direction. She just goes back and forth through time, and you get these bits and pieces of almost these scenes coming together from things we've seen in prior episodes to just things coming together within this episode about who she is, how she's grown up, how she views herself, but also coming to accept who she is. And it's an emotional,
like,
roller coaster.
My gosh, that episode by itself is such a work of art.
Yes.
Like, oh my god, Lilia. Like, I was in tears at the end of this episode. Just because, like, this one episode, it's episode 7, so you still have 2 more after.
Yes.
But this episode was, like, the culmination of all the other 6 episodes. And and then at the end it pushes you towards the finale. Like, we figured out everything. Now we have to deal with it.
Yes.
And Lilia really is the key to everything that has happened. Like Lilia in Teen, Billy. But it's so crazy to see everything just happen in sequence and then out of sequence. And it's just a big puzzle that you're piecing together. But, like, you didn't even know that this puzzle piece existed yet. It's such a crazy, wild ride. But also, can we talk about the costumes?
Yes.
Because, so, in all the other trials, you just get everybody kind of dressed up in, like, different, like, eras and, like, fun things. But in this one, because one of Lilia's thing was, like, being a witch. And what does being a witch look like in the perception from, like, lore and public eyes and stuff? Like, what do they think witches are? Well, we get all the other 4 castmates kind of dressed as different witches in pop culture. Which kind of symbolizes how we as regular people view being a witch. And so you get Agatha, naturally, is the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes.
Who pulled it off spectacularly. You have Lilia, who is Glinda, the Good Witch, you know, both from Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
You get Jin. Now, Jin was harder to place, but I kind of thought she was like the evil stepmother witch from Snow White.
Yes.
Right,
that's
like
what I got
ugly
as well.
and awful and okay, great, we're on the same page there. But then you get Joe Locke, you get teen Billy as
so
freaking
fabulous,
Maleficent.
Yes.
Like they made him his own like full Maleficent gown.
He killed that costume.
Oh my god, we're gonna have to like post a picture of it because in the behind the scenes you can kind of see it a little bit better. While Maleficent's coloring is like solid black with then like hints of like, is it green? Purple maybe?
Purple.
Like the inside of the robe is purple. Well, the inside of his robe is blue. And it's just perfect because it's Billy, right?
Yes.
But like, oh my gosh. Oh, these costumes and like the makeup and stuff is so just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, especially for this one, but as well as all the prior episodes. Also, slight side note about costuming. I loved Agatha's coat. R.I.P. that beautiful coat that she had at the beginning.
Yeah, everybody needs an Agatha coat. And like every time she's just like throwing it around all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Like flare,
I loved it so much.
flare. Like,
yes,
you damn queen, stop it.
But you have to do that when you have a coat that. Come on.
I need one. I absolutely need one.
No, I do too. I'm like, I needed it last month.
Everybody get your Agatha coats on. It's time to watch Agatha All Along.
Yes. But in general, no, there's so much care in all this costuming, and we'll even get to a little bit later with some other additional outfits.
Oh, God.
But it's just crazy how much love and excitement was just put into the show and just creativity. And it's just beautiful to watch on its own. And also, as we're getting towards the end, it's still so different than so many other Marvel shows because you can think of it not quite as a Marvel show. It still has some of those Marvel elements, but we're really getting into this newer territory by talking about witches and magic. And we've only brushed this, like, we barely have even touched upon magic in general within the MCU. We've seen that with, of course, Wanda, but never quite in this capacity.
Well, Wanda's in such a weird place with magic, especially MCU Wanda. Because, yes, we've always known her as the Scarlet Witch, but, like, her powers haven't been magic. They've just been, like, powers,
Yeah, that's true.
Until the introduction of the Scarlet Witch persona, where Agatha's like, no, you are a witch. You haven't learned magic. You just are inherently casting spells, That's what your powers are. It's chaos magic. But she's on the cusp, because she's like, I don't want to be a witch. I'm not, and when she comes back, they'll push her more into the witchy stuff. Because that's who the Scarlet Witch is. But, like, as a character before now, she's been a magical character without being, like, into the lore of magic, But the Agatha show is 100% like, we're going this way. Come on.
Yes. But then specifically, so with this episode, we're dealing with everybody in the pop culture witch costumes, and also with, like, Lilia coming to terms with her life and where things are headed. She becomes such, like we said, a huge part of this episode of propelling everybody else forward. And so we do get a very emotional ending where she realizes this is her place, that she's helping everybody else with these trials, and she sacrifices herself, because not only are they dealing with trying to escape this trial and doing tarot readings, but you also have the Salem 7 coming back around again and wanting, obviously, they're out for Agatha and basically who everybody else gets in the way. And so she sacrifices herself in like an epic slow motion scene of just powerful right there with that. But so we are once again down another witch, but also she took out our
bad
enemy.
guys. Yeah, all gone. Just cleared them from the board.
So now we're down to 3.
So Agatha, Billy, and Jen, they all run off for the last trial. But things get weird because they move forward and they find out they're back where they started.
Yes. They find their shoes because Agatha at the beginning said, oh yeah, when you get to the road, everybody needs to take off their shoes, pay respect to the road. And so that's how they know that they've come back. And they're like, this whole thing's been a circle. And Agatha is very angry, annoyed, and just fed up with all this crap. And she's like losing it. And Teen's just like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. And they're all looking towards Agatha because they're like, you did the road before. That's what you said. That's what we've heard. What are we supposed to do? And then we have Billy kind of taking charge, and he's just like, I'm done with this crap, and puts his shoes on. And
time to be disrespectful for the road.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, I'm done paying respect for everybody. Yeah, I'm out of here. And that starts that final trial.
Which, what an interesting trial. They kind of wake up in like a morgue situation.
Yeah.
They wake up inside body bags, which, they get out of. I love the line, like, when Jen wakes up and she's, like, screaming and fighting the body bag, and Billy, like, runs over to help her, and Agatha stops him. She's like, no, don't you take that struggle from her.
Yes. I was like, oh my god.
Agatha, you jerk.
Yeah.
But speaking of Agatha being a jerk, they all kind of get out, and there's all these lights above them, which are, like, sun lamps, like, for growing things, and they're like, I don't, like, and they're in, like, gowns, because they're dead bodies, and there's nothing in this room. They're like, what are we supposed to do? And it's time for a little bit of psychological breakdown. Like, that's what it is. And they all kind of figure out what is it they want? Why do they want it? What are they searching for? Well, Jen's the first to come at it, and she figures out that it was Agatha who bound her powers all those years ago. And Jen, basically, she claims them back from Agatha. She
does.
She unbinds herself, and Agatha's just like the whole time, like, oh girl, oh damn.
Yeah.
But then, Jen, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, specifically with like that reveal with Agatha and Jen is that you just see so much more of Agatha's character in that regard, just not caring about anybody, or at least what she shows to people about like, oh, I didn't even think about who I was, giving magic for, or doing a little something. Some doctor asked something, and I said, sure, I don't care who it is. I didn't think about it at the time. And then just Jen being like, but you are the one who ruined my entire life. Like, you're the reason for this. I'm taking my powers back, and
I'm reclaiming everything, and you're gonna leave me alone. Like, which Agatha, let her. She's just like, okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. And she realizes, like, yeah, oh, I guess some of my actions do have consequences. It's like, yeah, Agatha, duh.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Like, you've only lived for, like, 600-700 years plus, you're like, come on.
Yeah.
But, so Jen reclaims her powers and is gone. She's, poof, gone.
She got to escape the road.
Yeah. And so now Billy and Agatha are kind of panicking because they've lost like half of their time. And
we had this moment a little bit before this where it was like, is Agatha gonna help Billy or not? Because Rio comes to Agatha.
Oh, right. You learn a little bit about
and we also learn
that's happening.
Who Rio is, that Rio is death.
Like the universal like physical person of death. Like Rio both exists and doesn't exist because she's just a part of the universe.
Yeah.
And that's like her and Agatha used to be together, like, until Rio did something. Well, it's insinuated that Rio took Agatha's son. Her son died, and Agatha blamed Rio for that. But
then everybody else thinks that Agatha sacrificed her son on the road.
For the Darkhold.
Yes.
Specifically.
So, and then that's where we get a moment from Rio being like, Agatha, why do you allow them to say these things about you that aren't true? And you just have Agatha being like, yeah, whatever, and leave me alone, Rio. And then that's where you see this kind of Agatha's trying to, just continue to manipulate things to her advantage. And it's kind of like, well, I don't want you to, kill me, basically. Why don't you, I heard that you want Billy. Like, I'll give Billy to you. And then I don't want to ever see you again. And it's like, well, you get this moment too because they have this such strong relationship in the past of being like that conflicting feelings, as well as being like, sure, because you find out more specifically with Billy is that because Billy inhabited a body of William that died, and so it's kind of thrown off the balance of life and death.
Yeah.
But it's kind of this moment then where they're in this final trial with Agatha and Billy, and you're like, what is Agatha gonna do? And she, at that moment, legitimately helps Billy.
Oh, because Rio,
he wants.
Rio tells her, like, you know, like, with Billy's existence, it's not right. And he has the power to stay here forever, you know? He's immortal, essentially.
He could keep
And worse than that, he can do the same for his twin. And you have to give him to me because I can't allow that to be a thing. And Agatha's like, okay, I'll make it to where he, like, gives himself up. Like, he won't do that, and he'll give himself up, and that's our deal here. And Rio's like, okay, like, fine. You're a sick, twisted human being, and I know you can make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, then they get in this trial, and Agatha herself, she says, hey, you caused all of this stuff to happen. Like, you put yourself in William Kaplan's body. Like, you need to realize that you can do the same thing for Tommy. Like, I know you're looking for Tommy. That's obvious what you want.
Yeah.
But you don't need the Witch's Road to grant you that. You have the power of doing it yourself, and I'm going to help you achieve that. Which is like, okay, like, I was panicking. Like, I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't think this was going to happen. Like, sitting here in this show. And it's awful because she helps him focus and access his power.
Yeah, because you're like, but is she really helping him? Like, what is her agenda? Or she's lying to him. But no, it's just, she does.
She straight up is like, we're gonna, like, he finds somebody, like, in the world, some boy who is currently dying.
Yeah.
Then he has to find Tommy's soul, like, out there in the nether, and then toss the soul into this poor dying, well, dead kid's body so that he can go look for him, essentially. Like, traumatic. Oh my God.
Yeah, and there's so much information in this, like, short span of time about him being conflicted about, like, well, am I killing this boy that I'm putting the body in? But it's like, no, he's dying on its own. But then you're like, what is the circumstances that he's putting Tommy in? Because it's a completely different situation that Billy's in. Because this poor kid was dying, was drowning because he was being bullied. And so he was, in the water. And then at the same time, Billy is also finding out more about this family that Tommy's going to be sent with. He's like, he has nobody to care for him. And it's just this, like, contrast, but also this guilt.
A lot of heartbreak happen in this, like, 2.5 minute segment that I wasn't prepared to. I was not prepared to, like, go through that. And, like, I think I held my breath through that entire segment. Because, like, you have, like, they're sitting cross-legged on the floor. They're holding hands. Billy is just, like, clenching his eyes shut as Agatha's, like, screaming instructions to him. And Billy's, like, crying because he's like, am I killing somebody? Like, what is happening right now? And then, like, an unleashing of power, the floor splits and Billy's gone.
Yeah.
And it's silent, and you just know, like, oh my God, he did it. Like, Tommy was just reborn somewhere in the world, and Billy's gone.
Yeah.
And then you just have Agatha just sitting.
Yeah, and her time's running out in this final trial.
Oh, she has, like, 3 lights still left, which is nothing, and it's the whole thing. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, just insanity of her being like, well, crap, like, I can't get out of this. Like, I don't have any magic. How am I supposed to bring something to life? And then she finds that she takes a look at that locket that she carries with a lock of hair that is presumably from her son that we are still trying to figure out the whole story behind. And then she finds basically like a little seed in there and realizes, because this has to do with magic that she is not familiar with, but has to try to get a plant to grow in this space. But luckily that crack in the ground opened up to have some earth there. And so she's struggling in this final task, just barely makes it through and escapes the Witch's Road. And this is where is revealed.
Yeah. So she comes flying out of her basement door, like onto her backyard, essentially. When she gets outside, though, it's like stormy and cloudy, and then Rio is sitting on top of the house in full death garb.
Yes. Cackling
into the wind that it's time to pay up or shut up.
Yep.
You know, Like,
Yes.
give me Billy and I'm moving on. Like, we've run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And she, you know, she has some moments where she's just like, Billy's gone. I don't know where he is, and you'll have to find him. And that's kind of the end of that. But she's also mad because she has conquered the road. Where are her powers? Where is it?
Yep.
Where is the thing that she wanted? And she's blaming Rio for that. Which is silly, but you know, she's upset.
She wants somebody to blame. So
Rio's like, well, if you can't give me Billy, then I'll kill you.
yeah.
Simple as that. Like, okay, then I'll go find him. Like, it's fine. I have literally the rest of time to figure that out.
Yep.
So she sets up Agatha to kill her.
But then we get this glorious entrance.
Oh God.
With Billy coming to per se the rescue.
Not just Billy.
No.
Wiccan.
Yes, you're right.
In his full glory.
I was really surprised, but I was excited. I thought it looked really good. I did not expect that we were going to get the whole like outfit.
Oh yeah, he comes. So Rio gets blasted back, and then Agatha looks up into the sky, and here comes Billy in his full Wiccan garb, like, you know, presenting his best Elizabeth Olsen. Ready to protect Agatha. Like, his powers are fully awakened and everything. He's ready to go. And instead of fighting Rio, he blasts Agatha with his own magic to grant her powers back. But he does it with the trust that she will cut it off before she kills him.
Yes.
And man, there were some moments.
Yes, where
because
it's like, ooh.
she's taken enough. Like, she's up on her feet and she's like laughing and throwing her power around as Billy is continuously blasting her. But then he's on the ground still blasting her, and
slowly
she's up in the air, and like her amazing Agatha costume has returned, and she's the Emperor from Star Wars. She's cackling and lightning's coming out of her fingertips, you know. She's gone full back to villain mode here. Yeah. And Billy is just like writhing on the ground.
Yeah, like
continuing to blast her because he can't turn it off. But
he can't stop it.
But she does it. She cuts it off. She cuts it off, and then I think, was it Rio who like blasts him? Or maybe Agatha like knocks him out of the way. Yeah.
More blasting, a little bit knocking away, and then basically talking.
Yeah, well, and then Rio and Agatha, they get into it. They start fighting each other, which is silly because like Agatha's not going to kill Death. That's not how that works.
No,
but she's just I think she's more like, my powers are back. I want to use them.
Yeah. And I'm so angry at you, I have something to use against you. So So we have this whole moment, and then where we just see with Billy as well, like finding out why Death is there, and that Billy is basically an abomination and needs to give himself up for this, and that Agatha's like, yeah, you need to do that. And then Billy's finally like, okay, I will. And Agatha's like, okay, great, bye.
She gets him. Because she's all like, really, you can't do that. Like, you can't give her yourself. And then he's like, but I have to. And she's like, okay. Yeah. Sayonara.
And then starts walking away.
Yeah.
But then we get this kind of like desperate like attempt from Billy to, because, you know, not only do we see the magic he has, but also because he can read minds and communicate telepathically, he reaches out to Agatha. And that's something we haven't seen at all in the series, like reaching her in that way. And he kind of basically does like a last resort plea about, you know, is this what happened to your son? And that just immediately
triggers a response.
Her. Yeah. And so she immediately does a complete, you know, 180 on that and kisses Death.
Oh, she marches straight up to her and just plants one on her.
Oh, a hardcore kiss.
A hardcore kiss. And as a result, she falls back dead. Dramatically so, of course. You know, super slow motion, and Rio's just kind of like, that look that like Aubrey gave as Agatha fell away, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot just in that one look that Rio is giving her as she was, well, already dead, I suppose, but
yeah. But it's a lot of heartbreak in there too. Like,
there's so many emotions.
They had something, but like the circle in a sense needed to be completed with like the balance needed to come into play, and having that done. But
so Agatha falls back, and
Rio gives her a burial.
She does.
Helps her to become within that circle of life, one with the earth and a bed of flowers, and It's like, that's that. End of episode 8, though.
Well, and then she just turns to Billy and says, "You're free."
Yeah.
Like,
Very
get
true.
out. You're good. And Billy's just like, okay. And then you get the scene where he just like walks from the house, walks down the street. All of the like WandaVision neighbors, are watching him in like full superhero attire, and he just gets in his little car and just drives away. I loved that sequence. Like, you don't get that stuff, but he's driving and just like exhaling and letting it all go.
Yeah, and then that's the end. But like we said, that's episode 8.
There's still another episode to go, for sure.
Yeah, and this is where we see, which I guess I don't know, some parts of those episodes kind of bleed into my mind about where he's back in his room, and then he starts looking at the things in his room, and this is where it's...
Oh, yeah, so he's looking around his room, which is very, it's very teenagery, it's very, like, witchy. But he sees, like, he has, like, all of these little cute figurines of, like, the characters from The Wizard of Oz. The Good Witch, the Wicked Witch. He has the record, Lorna Woo's version of the Ballad of the Witch's Road. And as he's seeing these things, he's flashing back to his experience with the road. And, like, this was the same as this, and this was the same as this. And it kind of hits him that he created the road with his powers. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Until it did.
Yes. And so we get that moment, and then we also get to jump back in time by a lot to the late 1700s?
Yeah, it was like 300 years earlier.
Yeah.
You get some backstory on
Agatha.
Mostly Agatha, but kind of Agatha and Rio. Kind of.
Yeah. Very brief that because we're seeing them after the relationship has seemingly ended or whatever. Agatha is pregnant, and she's alone in the woods about to have her child. And this is where we see a moment where Rio comes. And because as viewers, we know that Rio is death, and she's about to give birth. And we see this recognition from Agatha about, like, why are you here? Basically, this is not good. Like, leave me alone. And basically this whole scene is that her child is going to die, or basically is dying very shortly from birth. And Agatha begs her not to take her child, to give her another chance.
Just some time with him,
Just
like,
some time.
It's not fair,
Yeah. And Rio allows it. She's like, I will give you time. And
which,
because, yeah.
Rio had told Agatha, like in a previous episode, that in the existence of all of time, Agatha's the only person who Rio has given special treatment to.
Yes.
And, Agatha loses it at that comment, like, how dare you say, like, which is like, okay, Agatha. But now Agatha didn't take Nicholas,
No.
She said, I can't tell you how much time, but you will have some time with him. And so Agatha gives birth, has her baby, and then moves on.
Yep. And because we've also seen that Agatha at this point in her life, she's not an innocent witch. She's been doing what she's always done, what we've seen through the years, is that she is obsessed with getting more power and draining all the witches that she comes into contact with. And as her son gets older, he becomes part of this con, essentially.
He lures witches in, and she steals their powers. I mean, simple as that.
Yep. But not only are we introduced to that, we're introduced to the fact that her son likes to, come up with things to keep him active while they are traveling on a road from place to place. And it can get quite boring for a child. So he comes up with this song about going down the windy road. And you're like, oh, this sounds very familiar.
Yeah, right.
And then Agatha, along the way, helps him come up with additional lyrics. This is the origin story of the Ballad of the Witch's Road. And so, they'll perform it. You get a sequence of him performing it, like, in an inn. And she's setting up for people to pay him for, like, singing and stuff like that. Yeah.
But, like, it becomes such a thing that like witches in the area, they grab onto the song and they're like, oh, the Witch's Road, like, oh goodness, like what a thing that would be.
Yeah.
So as Agatha and Nicholas are going along killing all these witches so that Agatha can have more power,
Yeah. And then Nicholas is just getting a little older and just kind of like, like, Mother, why do we have to keep doing this? Can't we just take a break? You can just do this tomorrow. And we also saw a moment too when he's performing the song where like he starts coughing and you're like, is that real or not? Or is he just trying to do it to get some sympathy to help Agatha get some more witches? But then we see when he's alone with Agatha too, like he almost seems to be kind of sick as well. And you're just like, okay, well, we're hearing something's happening. And so they spend the night together in the woods and talk about how they're going to get more witches the next day and just keep going with it. But even though he's not really into that. And then in the middle of the night, Rio appears and Nicholas appears to wake up, and she beckons him to come follow her. And this is a moment too where you also see with Rio, because Rio is Death, that Rio is not an evil character per se, because
she's a force of nature that has a job to do. It's
yes,
you know, she
and
doesn't
it's just part of it.
She doesn't pick people to die. She just knows when it's going to happen, and she's there to collect souls. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And we see the way that she approaches different people too, almost kind of catering to the best way for them to come to terms with their death.
To accept it and come with her, you know.
Yeah. And so she takes on more of a like a sweeter, nicer figure to like help him gently carry or, you know, bring him along on this journey, and for her to take her hand. And it's this whole like where it becomes kind of heartbreaking in a sense, because it's like, yeah, Agatha got to spend this time with her kid, but then he dies in the middle of the night and Rio takes him in the middle of the night, and you're just like, that's kind of crappy. But then realistically, like, if Rio came in the middle of the day with Agatha awake, would that actually have been good for everybody?
Right.
No, like Rio picked like the sweetest way to do it in a sense.
The easiest, gentlest, kindest way.
Yeah.
You know, and when Agatha woke up the next morning and was laying next to a lifeless Nicholas, Rio was right there. You know, Rio could have taken Nikki and just never shown her face again, but she didn't want to. She knew that Agatha was going to need some consoling, and now, is that what Agatha wanted? No. Because it's
Agatha
Rio's
admit
fault.
What she wants? Yeah. No. But then soon after that, after she says her, you know, goodbyes to her son that she had such a short time with, this lady comes to see her and is like, she heard
Agatha sing the song. Yeah.
Yes. She's like, wait a minute, you know that song? Do you know how to get there? And Agatha's like, what are you talking about? Like, can you help me get to the Witch's Road? And Agatha thinks about it more and goes, why, yes. Yes, I can.
But we're going to need a coven to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know others, perhaps?
Witches nearby who can help us? We need to get together. And that is the creation of the quote Witch's Road. It's all along con for Agatha, and we see amazingly edited sequence with another sets of outfits through all the decades, all these various points in time of her just again and again with, here witches, I'll take you to the Witch's Road, because they sing the song, and when they find out that they can't access the road, they get angry
that it's not
and
real.
Blast her.
Yeah. She goads them into, you know, she antagonizes them enough until they're like, we'll just kill you. And they blast her, and then they die. And I mean, it's win-win for her.
Yes.
You know, and so you get this sequence of going through time after time after time where, I mean, Agatha is just leaving an absolute trail of dead bodies in her wake, simply to gain more power. I mean, simple as that.
Yeah. She is a true addict. Like, that's what it is. Like, it doesn't really serve any purpose except that she just thinks she needs more and just enjoys getting more power. And so this whole sequence then goes right back to where we started at the beginning of the show with the coven that was created. And it's obviously showing she had no intention of going down the quote, Witch's Road, because it didn't exist. And she was ready to take whatever power she could get from this ragtag group, even if it was just one person from that, because as we said, like, one of our characters was bound, so there's nothing that could happen with that, but it was just the idea of getting them together for her to have a sliver of power. And so when the Witch's Road does appear,
it actually appears under their feet.
Yes.
They're all surprised, but I don't think anybody's more surprised than Agatha.
Nope. And so she is truly unprepared. So when you go back to think about how she's acted this entire time on the road, she's been truly faking it until she makes it. It's
the queen.
She has no freaking idea because she's never been on a witch's road.
But they're like, but you're the one who has completed it, so you know all of these things. And she's like, yep, sure do. You know, so it's just like, oh my gosh. And like every conversation she has with people about the road where she's like contradicting, like when they're arguing about the lyrics to the song, it's coven true. And Agatha's like, I'm pretty sure it's coven two. Like I only need two people. And they're like, nope, it's coven true. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But it's like, but Agatha would know. She wrote the song. Like,
yeah. And it could also have more meaning too of coven too, because it was her and Nicholas.
Her and Nick.
Of them walking that road together. So it's like, yeah, exactly. There's so many little things to look out for from her reactions to people, just for, yeah, like you said, with the lyrics. And then it gets kind of crazy towards the end, because after this is all revealed, we find that Agatha is visiting Billy in his room, and you're like, wait, oh my Agatha is visiting Billy.
So he's having this moment where all of these pieces come together, and he's like, oh my god, I created the road. And then he turns around. He turns around and like, there's Agatha as a ghost. And he's all like, what is happening? He's panicking. And she's all like, LOL, look at this. I'm a ghost. This is so cool. And he's just like, I killed all of those people. And she's just like, nah. She's like, I was going to kill them anyway. So like, you didn't really. It's
like, thanks. Yeah.
So, so, you know, it's fine. Don't blame yourself. Like, get used to this feeling, because that's what witches do. And he's all like, no, never again. Anyway, you know, which is, I hated that, because it's like, oh, you're drawing like terrible lines between like Billy and Wanda, like, and they're like troubles, you know. It's like, oh, that's really sad.
It's something really heavy to just really like carry. Like, he thought like he was finding himself, he knew a path forward, he was going to be ready to find Tommy, and it's like, oh, by the way, you did all this stuff. Like
you created this situation where all of these people, people died. So his immediate thing is to go back to the... go back to the witch's road, erase the road, because it still exists. It's very much still there. Like, that door is there.
In the basement,
And he starts to cast a spell that will banish Agatha's ghost. Because he's like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, he's like,
we're not playing this game.
It's your fault, basically. Like, I can't handle this. But he also does, when he closes the road, he basically makes it kind of a tomb and puts the names of all the people that died on it.
Yeah, so he makes it a tomb for the people who died, and which was lovely.
Yes.
And then Agatha's all like, well, how about this? Like, oh, because he was using her pendant, her brooch.
Yes.
You know, which has been in the show this entire time. But he needed a physical item of hers to banish her. But she, out of desperation, she actually swipes at him and manages to knock it out of his hand. Like, as a ghost. And they're both just like, wait a minute, what did I just do?
Yeah.
But she goes and she picks it up. And it becomes part of her, like, ghostly garb. She puts it on herself.
Yes.
And now Billy doesn't have something to banish her with.
And she's like, yay, you're stuck with me.
Yeah. And so they're both like, okay, well, Agatha is just... Because if Agatha moves on, that means she has she has to see Nicholas, and she doesn't want to do that. But she is happy staying with Billy, like, to become his, like, witchy little teacher. You know, like...
Yes.
And she's like, well, I won't be so much of a bitch, I promise. But let's make you the person you were supposed to be, and let's go find Tommy together. And he's like, but I can't trust you. And she's like, what on earth am I going to do to you now? She's like, she's like, literally a ghost, and I'm in everything, like, it all died with me, so let's just do this thing together. And he's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
No choice, but yeah.
And like, that ending,
it's such a weird ending, and it's something that's so interesting too, because I'm also just talking about how the show is part of the MCU and introducing more, like, with witches, but then also now we're dealing with ghosts as well, and just it's setting up a path, but also it's such a tease for what hopefully will come in the future with them going on this journey.
And so it's hard to dictate, like, what's going to happen next in this one area of the MCU. Yes. We do know that next year the show Vision Quest is supposed to get going, begin production and everything. And if you don't remember what happened to Vision at the end of WandaVision, like, Vision had been, like, taken apart by Sword and put back together as their own weapon. So he was like, and he was all white. He was White Vision. But then White Vision basically kind of came to understand, like, who, like, Old Vision was, and kind of, like, left. Kind of left. And so Vision Quest is supposed to be focused on what is Vision doing now. But I really think that Vision Quest will also introduce Tommy.
I hope so. But what I also think is interesting is that I don't think there's been any specific word on this, at least at the time of recording. I think there's been speculation, is that with the teasers Marvel has done for Agatha All Along, one of the last ones they did before the final 2 episodes premiered was the way Catherine Hahn talked about the show was she said it was the season ending, and so there was a lot of speculation of what if technically their journey continued if there was a season 2 of the show. But
oh no,
because before it had been implied it was a mini series, but there was some interesting wording, so it could be possible with that, because I know that after every single episode has aired, the showrunner has done interviews, and they asked her specifically, do you know what's happening with Vision Quest? And, we can take it or leave it how everybody responds to interviews, but she said, no, I have no part of that production. But she's and so people are like, well, do you know where these characters are going to continue? And she seemed unsure about that situation. So because there is a lot that I think is still being in development, whether it's hopefully we do see Tommy appear in Vision Quest, or whether we see potential other
they're
show.
casting Tommy right now, so
yeah, definitely that's where it's leading. And I think it's pretty crazy because there's a lot that could happen with Billy and Tommy, as well as with including Agatha and Vision as well, of just pushing towards this bigger moment within the MCU and eventually finding, in whatever words you want to describe finding as, Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
That could really just lead into a bigger deal with a lot could happen in the show. We could see a lot of ways they introduce more within the MCU, way more a part of a bigger story with some...
in the past, we've had, 2 fronts of the MCU, right? We've had,
mm-hmm.
Earth and
yes.
the street level stuff, and then we've had, cosmic
mm-hmm.
movies, with, Guardians and stuff like that, Captain Marvel. They could introduce, the magical side.
Yes.
They could, and Wanda could have her own movie. And things
mm-hmm.
with Doctor Strange, use Doctor Strange as the crutch of we're pushing off here, because there's supposed to be Doctor Strange 3,
Oh yeah, because of how that movie left it.
Now,
too.
will that movie include Wanda at all? No, probably not. Which is fine, because I have an idea of where they're going with the third Doctor Strange, and then into the next Avengers movies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it ties into the just pure Avengers stuff at the end of the day. But Wanda could come back, and she could be, she could just be the Scarlet Witch and move forward with the magical side of the MCU,
yes.
because there are so many Wanda stories that don't involve murdering everybody, that they could go into,
Mm-hmm.
Or heaven forbid, just create original stories for her,
Yeah, there's so much that can be done with her. And I feel like we got to see a lot of good stuff with her character, specifically with WandaVision, but it still felt like her journey is not complete, because there's, like we said, there's so much you can do with the Scarlet Witch. And I personally did not enjoy Multiverse of Madness, that Doctor Strange movie, and I felt like it was such a poor quote ending for her character. I mean, I don't believe she's
I don't
never
see
saw
it
her
as
body. Come on,
I don't see it as an ending at all. But
yeah.
it's definitely
it's
a bookend for her.
Yeah,
for that little arc that she had post Infinity War, and it's just but it's a sad ending. There has been nothing happy. As far as, I mean, since Infinity War, she had to deal with watching Vision be killed, and then killing Vision, and then coming back to not kill Thanos, to being ignored by the rest of the Avengers and leaving her just to dawdle, and then leading into WandaVision, where she hurt all of those people, stealing the Darkhold, leading into Multiverse of Madness, killing all of those people.
Yeah.
This poor girl needs a break that's not caused by death.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even her intro is deals with death, with her brother dying. She never has any happiness, essentially, throughout her entire run so far.
And I know that's very comic book accurate, Wanda, but Wanda also has 40, 50 years of good stuff happening between those horrific moments, and even right now, where Wanda's at literally right this second, where she's absolved herself, where she's moved on. She has put periods on all of the problems that were causing her to like be who she was. You can do that, you know.
Yes. There can be more positivity with her character. We can get it in a nicer direction, of just a nicer place.
After all of this, after all of the things that they've had her do, if they ever No More Mutants, Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, I'm gonna riot. Like, we don't need that. The X-Men don't even exist yet. We don't have to tell that story.
No, we don't, especially because, like you said, they haven't been introduced yet. We don't need to immediately destroy the X-Men. We can just do a smaller introduction to those mutants.
They get a movie and then Wanda comes and wipes them out.
No. And that's just a mess for her character even more so because of everything she's been through. Like, there has to be a point with everything that we've seen so far with her character that she has to learn to grow from that. Yes. And then that can be that starting point.
Or just heaven forbid, been given space and time to grow from that. Like, if you want to argue, like, WandaVision happened, where she started the grieving process, but she had the Darkhold. And what she did with the Darkhold, like, she was corrupted. She was absolutely corrupted. She did not grieve with the Darkhold. She was given the power to do such terrible things. She was, quote-unquote, trying to solve her problems in terrible ways, but that was through grief, you know. But also, the people who did Multiverse of Madness did not watch WandaVision, you know. Which
so disappointing with that, Which is just like, it was such a big deal because we got so much with Wanda as a character in that show, which made it so good by like just spending all that time with her. But also reflecting too with WandaVision, it being something interesting that we could see in the future, is that WandaVision introduced us to Monica, and Monica, who we saw appear again in the Marvels.
Oh yeah, we know she's going places.
Yeah, but she was left in a unique place because she's in some other like universe with the X-Men, and just seeing how she could come up again whenever they decide to bring back the Scarlet Witch at some point, and having those interactions since she has dealt with her in the past. Like, there's a lot that could happen. With all
Monica and Jen get to be in this special little like traumatized by a Maximoff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Although
but
Jen definitely came
women
out
that got through it.
Yeah,
yes.
Jen came out the other side, like with what she was wanting, you know. Monica, no, she didn't ask for any of that.
No, but she eventually came to terms, it seems, with it, and potentially, but she hasn't dealt back with Wanda again about, hey.
Oh lordy.
Yeah. She's gonna have to get behind Billy though on that list, and I'm sure Tommy as well, about who's in line to talk to Wanda.
Oh yeah, but I mean, Wanda she needs to be having some conversations with people too. Like, good thing Tony Stark's dead already, because.
Oh boy. Yep. But we'll still have Robert Downey Jr. again, and some relation to whatever it's going to be with Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom could be an interesting insert to also with Wanda.
Well,
because there is history there as well.
10%, so. Yeah. I mean, who does Doctor Doom not have history with, frankly? But Wanda specifically, because they were just flat out married, so.
Yeah.
Poor amnesiac Wanda, but still.
Yeah. I don't think that's initially where they're heading, though, because of...
Probably not, no.
Some stuff, but it would be interesting to see if there is some relation or crossover with those characters that we get to see. But yeah, it's just an interesting place to kind of just speculate at this point, because like we said, there's no post-credit scene with this. There's no official announcement specifically with Billy specifically returning in this project, or any specific confirmation on a Scarlet Witch movie at this point in time. So it's just us to speculate and wishful fulfillment, I suppose. So
I'll go watch a Scarlet Witch movie probably 20 times in theaters, so that's fun.
But I think in the meantime, to hold us over, I'm kind of hoping they'll release one of those assembled episodes about this show, like they've done with all the behind the scenes of prior Marvel shows and movies, because I've gotten to see glimpses on social media about all the behind the scenes. Like, we've talked about the costuming. We didn't specifically talk about the sets, but almost everything in this show was practical. Like, they actually built the Witch's Road that they walked upon, and different scenes that happen. Like, a lot of this is not just like post. It's a lot of these special effects were done, practically. And it's really cool to see that, and just it further adds to that creativity, but also it explains, like we said, that it wasn't as big as a budget, per se, to WandaVision, but they did so much with this show. and everybody was just, it just seemed they had a blast. Everybody had so much fun on the show. You guys should look at different interviews of just the cast itself interacting with each other. There's some insane ones out there.
There's some absolutely unhinged ones.
Yes.
Well, and
Catherine
also,
Hahn. Oh my gosh.
and you get a lot of like Aubrey Plaza together with Patti LuPone moments. Those are the ones.
Gosh.
Holy cow.
And crazy stories because they lived together at one point.
Yeah.
And all the crazy things that happened with that. Oh man. But yeah, no, just everybody having interactions with it. It's really exciting to see. It almost gives some more like extra, even though this show goes on such a crazy journey through emotions and just like the highs and the lows, lighthearted moments, dark moments. We also just get to see that people just had so much fun making this show.
And I need more Joe Locke as Billy Maximoff. I knew that casting was going to be perfect, and I needed, and like, who's going to be Hulkling? I don't want to be basic, but like, I needed to be Kit Connor.
Yes, I know. We have to be basic.
And I'm sorry. I know that Kit has also said himself that like, it shouldn't be him. Like, he has brought it up. But also, I feel like that's also just like basic Marvel saying, don't talk about things. Like, say no. You're not in it.
But like, Hugh does fit perfectly.
Oh my gosh.
That's the problem.
That's not our fault,
really
Kit. Don't take that out on us.
No.
If you and Joe didn't work out so well, like, also, like, you're telling me you put on like 50 pounds of muscle to not be Hulkling? Like, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
Mm-hmm. It's Andrew Garfield all over again. I'm not in Spider-Man. Nope.
No, ignore all these muscles. Nope. It's fine. Whatever, man.
Yeah. Yes, but that's what we can hope for.
Every day of my life.
We'll see. Mm-hmm. But any other final thoughts about Agatha?
No. Go stream any of the Ballad of the Witch's Road.
Yes,
like, they're up everywhere.
For real.
Go listen to all of them 85 times. Mm-hmm. So, you know.
And then again, just
to make sure.
Exactly.
And then interviews. Go watch interviews too.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're great.
For sure. But then, of course, also, we recommend watching the show as well. And just enjoy the ride it takes you on. The emotional journey.
Yeah, if you've never seen, if you haven't watched WandaVision, I don't think that's a major thing because they kind of explain what you need to know. Just, you're going to go watch a witchy show. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what you need to know. So, go watch it. And then go watch WandaVision afterwards, just for funsies.
Exactly. But listeners, I think that'll do it for this episode. Let us know if you've seen Agatha All Along and what your favorite part is. And as always, be sure that you follow or subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. You can follow us on social media at PodDemastered. And once again, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode, and we hope you tune in to the next one. See ya.
See ya.